like thank you to you and the DZone team for having me here. I am 1 year and 1 day with Red Hat. Quick thumbnail sketch of my background. I studied engineering, thought I'd end up in like robotics or space or something, but ended up in this, wild and wacky IT industry. Spent a number of years at a number of various vendors, usually working with customers, working with partners. I then spent a decade as a technology analyst, and I was one of the hosts of theCUBE. So I've been at KubeCon for lots of years, Amazon reInvent, Microsoft Ignite, Google Cloud. I was like, cloud native, that kind of stuff. I would always joke, I have a closet full of hoodies. I myself am not a developer, but I play one on TV. I talk to everybody from, I've interviewed some of the biggest CEOs in the industry, name drop the Michael Dales and Andy Jassy, Pat Gelsinger of the world, right, down to I talk to the developers, and hopefully I understand those audiences and kind of mix that business and technology sweet spot. So somebody in the the CEO might not know how to pronounce Kubernetes, but why is that important for their world and what the business is going forward? So at Red Hat, I'm part of the OpenShift team. I'm part of the product marketing group. Spent a lot of time meeting with customers, helping them understand, digital transformation beyond that buzzword. Right. And of course, we're heavily involved in the cloud communities and the open sources, everything we do. So, KubeCon's one of our biggest shows. I'm happy to be back here again. We've got a smaller contingency than usual, but yeah, we've got a lot going on.
I think getting contingency is great these days, though, right?
Totally. Still not small, too. I've seen a lot of Red Hat people.
Yeah, we've
small by Red Hat.
Right. It's, a fraction of the 300 plus that we sent, to San Diego.
Right.
But, yeah.
Oh, man. And you got like the Boba Fett.
It's a Mandalorian shirt there, and I am repping just Kubernetes. One thing Red Hat encouraged us is we don't need to fly the brand flag. We're all here about community, and anybody that knows Red Hat, we're contributing to so many projects.
Yeah, and you got the red shoes on too.
Yeah, I did get myself some red kicks to celebrate my 1 year. I was hosting OpenShift comments and the like. So yeah, a little bit of bling, to show things off.
Okay, and then so there's so much going on here at KubeCon. What is going on with Red Hat that y'all have announced, or with going on with OpenShift? I know that it seems like there's so much, but what are some of the big ones?
How much time do we have? So right, our our announcement this week, which the boring part is like, oh, okay, OpenShift 4.9 and our multi-cluster advanced cluster manager 2.4. There's Kubernetes 1.22. Okay. There's lots of stuff in there. We're not going to get into the weeds on it. Right. Our focus on this announcement was actually edge computing. So something that's definitely been some buzz at this show for a couple of years. There's been a bunch of pieces. What we announced on it is a single node OpenShift. So how can I put full Kubernetes, not like Kubernetes with some pieces pulled out or anything like that, on a single server? So obviously it's not HA, but we have lots of use cases, whether that's manufacturing or telecommunications, where they use various configurations. So it's really been kind of a 2+ year journey we've had to build out our portfolio. OpenShift is the same everywhere. So now whether it's in your data center, your service provider, our managed cloud services in Amazon or Azure, or our hosted solution on Google, or now out at the edge, it's the same OpenShift. So same code, same everywhere. It's all Kubernetes. It's all 100% open source. And so that was, we're really excited to get to the end of that. And what's funny is working at Red Hat, it's like, everybody's like, oh, wow, doing this. It's like, it's been on our public roadmap for 2 years. So it's not like, it's like, oh, wait, there's no, it's nice being in a role at Red Hat is I don't have to worry about, oh, wait, I told you something that I'm not supposed to. The only thing I can tell is like, there's a lot of our customers I can talk to you about, and some of them I just have to say government agency, financial institution, this kind of stuff. But other than that, it's all public, and most of our customers are talking about it anyway, because we're hiring, they're hiring, and this space is so hot. So
yeah, and it was also interesting for probably our audience today is like there's so many different trends going around. Everybody has a different perspective, but from your perspective, Red Hat perspective, what are the trends, the challenges, the obstacles, the opportunities that you're seeing?
Yes. So if you look at the diffusion of technology, we've reached a point that we are, they talked in the keynote this morning, we've crossed a chasm. So what does that mean? When you think about the, past the 30%, that next big chunk of people, you need to focus very different with them than you did in the early days. So number one is, I remember coming to, KubeCon down in Austin or things like that, and you talk to somebody and they would tell you with glee as to the stack they built and the code they did and the things that they're contributing and doing. A lot of the people now is just like, I just want to consume it. So there's a cloud service that I use or I take advantage of it. We've seen huge growth and momentum in where, we've got an SRE team We can just handle all that. You don't even need to worry about it. Do developers want to worry about infrastructure? No. It's like, do they want to worry about it scale? Do they need to worry about security? Yes. Can we give them more time back to worry about that rather than the storage, the networking, load balancing and all that wonderful stuff that, those of us with an infrastructure background, care more about. But from a dev standpoint, it's the difference between running it on your machine and running it at scale. So that piece is a big part of it. And what's nice is, Kubernetes was built with automation. It wasn't an afterthought or a point product, but we need to have automation at scale. And there's a lot that the industry as a whole doing, and it's part of our whole portfolio to pull those pieces together. So like GitOps, back at KubeCon Europe, Argo CD went generally available. We already have lots of customers that are using it and talking about it, and it's awesome because once again, if we can get people out of it and automate it, that will just make it easier for things to happen. It doesn't mean we're putting you out of a job. It means we're going to let you do the cool stuff and worry about the things that are differentiated for your business rather than, as we said, some of the, boring infrastructure stuff.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And then if we look ahead, if you put on like the crystal ball for 2022, is there like one or two trends maybe that we're not talking about enough? Or things that you're excited about?
So it was interesting. Always coming into this show is like, okay, is there a hot new thing or things like that? So I don't know if there was on Monday, one of the co-located shows about secure supply chain. So obviously with SolarWinds, the hack there, everyone's concerned about their software, and that intersection of open source and security is, a great trend. One of the things I've said, security has always been top of mind, but it's now top of budget, and no matter what your job is, you better have security is something that you considered. Red Hat, we made an acquisition, StackRox, early in the year. I've actually got a new person on my team that came from the StackRox group, and I told him like, hey, part of your job, you got to cross train all of us. Like as a networking person, I knew some firewall things and ACLs and the like. I've known some security. I could do the 5-minute, or you want a high level 20-minute pitch, sure. But really, the security people, what do they always tell me? It's like, you got to patch more, you got to be up to date. And, StackRox was Kubernetes native security. And, that's what, my group, I'm on the OpenShift team, we all need to know that and live that more, just as our customers do. So security, and there's some of the pieces. And it ties in with GitOps, it ties in with all these pieces. So there's always all these projects, but now you're starting to see some of the interconnected tissues and how they all come together, and we can have more solutions rather than just a bunch of piece parts, which unfortunately has been kind of cloud has been like, oh my God, I got to take all these things and put them together. It's, companies like what we do at Red Hat, we work with lots of system integrators and service providers and the hyperscalers. You see them building more solutions to make it. You want that easy button, and we're never quite there, but we're moving in the right direction.
And it's interesting, there's so much hype around security, but it almost takes for a company to be trending on Twitter or something to break before it's like they kick the can so much. So it's almost like, but it still has to be earlier in the process, right?
It absolutely does. Look, security is a board level conversation. Nobody wants to be the next headline.
Exactly.
And security people, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Ransomware, like one of my, one of the medical people that I go to in my town, which was like a sole proprietor, got hit by ransomware. And I went to see them this year, was telling me about it, like, oh my God, my little town in Massachusetts, this isn't just, the pipeline and the things that you see on the news, it trickles down. And it's like, shame on the people doing this when you're going to medical and hospitals and some of these things. Come on. So as an industry, hopefully we're doing things to help there. You had on to some of the backup vendors. They help, ransomware is one of the top use cases for those type of pieces. So, right. As an industry, as technology vendors, hope is that you can always do tech for good.
Right.
Help these kind of things. It's, shouldn't be just, oh, great, somebody in their basement can, I can bring down a nation state. Oh, come on. We can do better, people, right? Let's do it. So.
Very cool. And last two questions. And so you've been at KubeCon so many times. What have been maybe like one of your favorite moments since you've been going?
It's the people in the community at this kind of thing, just the access to like great people. One of the things I've loved, this year, about 3,000 people. It's like the hallway track is back. And what's nice is a lot of us that normally, oh my God, my schedule would be completely slammed. I've got a little bit of spare room, and other people do. The ones that normally you'd see in the hallway and be like, you have about 5 seconds, like, wait, I can stop and have a 5-minute conversation. I don't want tweet-sized conversations. I want, longer than what a full TikTok is these days in a conversation. And it's been nice to have those, or stop in the lobby and you're bumping into people. So I've always loved some of those smaller ones. So, the earlier days, Austin, the party that we have on like Geary Street was like a blast. And yeah, it snowed and whatever, but everybody freaked out. But, I'm a New Englander. It's not that bad and everything. So yeah, I mean, there's some great parties, great people I've met, good connections. And, I went from watching a lot of the industry to, I bet it was my career. It's like I joined Red Hat in this community specifically after I'd looked at a lot of different things. So I think we've got, still lots of, headroom and lots of room for growth.
So I just grew up basically right before your eyes. And last question then, especially like from Red Hat and for just like people looking to get into the industry, there could be someone right now that's in middle school, high school saying, what should I even start doing now, like for a career? So do you have like pieces of advice for that next generation coming in?
Yeah. So, get involved. So we actually have a nice free resource we have in the Kubernetes space. We have, it's called Cube by Example. So just KUBE by example.com. Actually launched a couple of new tracks there. It's all online. There's, it's like kind of mini courses and trainings. It's not a certification or anything like that. It is funded by Red Hat, but it's not pushing product or anything like that. But just if you want to learn, get involved. If you're looking at the cloud, you can do some certifications. If you saw in the keynote this morning, they had the cloud native, associate certification, and it has some acronym that unfortunately is escaping.
There's so many
right
acronyms.
Yeah, we have a glut of TLAs. You know what a TLA is, right? It's a 3-letter acronym. So there is no shortage of this stuff. So look, I'm not saying certifications are necessary, but getting the technology. It's one of those. I actually got my AWS CCP last year, and it was like I talked about cloud for a long time, but spin up an AMI and do some things and take a test. It cost me $100. It was fun, and I learned something. It's like it's really easy to get started, and then oh my gosh, you get to the deep end really quick. So it's good, and that barrier to entry is so low, and there is so much opportunity, especially developers. Right. What did Steve Ballmer say? It was developers. So they're developers, security, 2 areas that we see tremendous growth for lots of years. Red Hat, we're hiring lots, so definitely people check out. We have even lots of positions for people like coming out of college. We pipeline lots of interns and the like. So lots of career opportunities. It's always difficult to predict the future as to, heck, when I got to college, I had no idea, cloud computing didn't exist. Where would we end up in there? So you watch, the twists and turns. Your career, it is never a ladder. And most people you talk to, it is, so some twists and turns and bounces. So find the areas that excite you, find the things that are interesting, find people you want to work with, and enjoy it. It's a fun ride.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Stu, so much for your time today. And it was great to learn about KubeCon, more about OpenShift, and definitely excited to talk to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Blake. Great talking.
All right. Thanks, Stu.